Bartholomew Town is brought to you in part by the University of Rhode Island Online, Navigant Credit Union, the Audubon Society of Rhode Island, Newport Film, and Half Street Group.
Bartholomew Town.
All right, here we are again, another edition of Inside Communications presented by Half Street Group. Half Street Group founder and president Mike Raia joins us every single month to break down what you need or should know about everything PR and comms related. Mike, here we are. The weather's turning. It is peak Rhode Island, and it is peak season to talk about why it's important to communicate exactly what you need to and not get lost in the shuffle or not say something stupid that gets you into trouble. So, as always, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, Bill. I appreciate that you've got more of the optimistic view than I do of it being kind of peak Rhode Island season. I typically say April, even though it's my birthday and my wife's birthday, is the worst month to live in Rhode Island. But the penance that we pay for what July, August, September, and October are.
It's a little bit of a teaser. I mean, you start to see the Dell's trucks driving around. You start to see the ice cream place opened up at the pedestrian bridge downtown. We don't have the guild set up outdoors at the pedestrian bridge yet, though. That's when you know things are really moving and shaking here in the Ocean State.
Totally. That's totally fair. I just think of all of the different 40-degree mornings and 70-degree afternoons with rain intermittent through all of it. But, you know, like I said, it's the penance we pay for everything else that's amazing about living here, and we can all work through it.
All right, let's talk small business. There's a lot going on. I mean, small business is the backbone of most economies. In Rhode Island, it's particularly huge, and it, along with the nonprofit sector, makes up our largest sort of employer base, if you will, or not even employer base, just workforce. There's a lot to talk about here. You're going to be leading a panel that is going to touch on in detail some of what we're going to discuss today, but let's just get like an overview here. Why is it important for small businesses to be focused on PR and marketing and their communication strategy? And I'm going to go ahead and make the argument that it's as important as the product itself.
100%. So I think that, so I'm a small business, like Half Street. We are 4 employees. We are very centered in the community that we're a part of. And as a business owner, I understand how difficult and how challenging it is to grow, maintain, sustain a business, especially right now. I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the ecosystem, whether it's from rising costs because of tariffs, because of uncertainty in different federal or state policies that may or may not be coming. So I think that it's something that any small business has any number of challenges or hurdles that they need to be able to overcome to be able to be successful. When I think about whether it's my business or whether it's small businesses that we work with, there is a really important, not only opportunity, but obligation for small businesses to engage their customers. This idea of if you build it, they will come only is true up to the point of they will come if they know about it. And I think small businesses and PR and marketing and engagement looks different for any kind of small business. I mean, if you're opening up an ice cream stand on a main street in a community, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be able to position yourself as a thought leader on the best way to be able to make ice cream. Although it could be nice if you're able to get PBN to pay attention to something like that. But you've got an obligation to, and you've got an opportunity to be able to tell a little bit of the story of why you're doing what you're doing, what you're offering the customers, how you're different than anything else that's out there. And I think that in some ways, particularly, so for example, I did the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program about 2 years ago. And some of the businesses that I was working in there, the last thing they think about is that communications and that marketing and that storytelling, because they're so focused on the things that they are experts about, which is telling the story of, which is developing the product that they're selling, or running the business, or running the shop that they're running. So that becomes the really important thing for them to do. But what we try to do is help folks, and I do this is what the panel is going to be next week, of talking with small business owners about how they can take control of their story and how they can look for different platforms to be able to put that story onto.
Right. I mean, that's so fundamental, but at the same time, it requires so much expertise, and or not even necessarily expertise, but it requires effort that when you think about the pile of work that a small business has to manage, sometimes this falls to the bottom, but it's critical to keep it front and center. And it's critical, perhaps, as I argue, without any data, but just from experience, your messaging is absolutely fundamental to your success. And it's something that at Half Street Group, you do a great job of working with your clients. And, you know this as well as anybody, but it can't just simply be, let's put up a random Instagram post and hope that people come.
Right. You want it to be authentic to who you're trying to reach out to and who you're trying to talk with. And when I appreciate that you brought up Instagram and other social media on there. If you're running a Main Street restaurant, having kind of a visual look and feel to give potential customers the sense of what is the experience and they come there going to be, it's going to be able to develop and conjure that loyalty even before someone becomes a customer, even before someone comes in and orders something. But if you're also running kind of a small accounting firm, you may see opportunity to be able to leverage an Instagram, but that might not be the right platform. You might really want to be looking at how you're able to leverage LinkedIn, or how you're able to capitalize on thought leadership opportunities to be able to place things in your local publications about the 5 questions that people might have about their taxes coming up. I know we just finished up tax season. So for every small business, it's not that different than what we talk with our nonprofit clients about, or our more public affairs clients about. You want to be able to make sure that you're leveraging where or identifying how you're able to differentiate the story that you're telling, and how you're able to have a conversation with the people that you want to bring in the door in a sense of a conversation that they're already having. Because again, we've mentioned this before. I use the anecdote of Taylor Swift, Donald Trump, and Beyonce are the only 3 people who can create a public conversation at whole cloth. So if you look for those opportunities as a small business owner to step into the kind of voids of a conversation, or the conversations that are happening around you, and insert yourself as a character. So I mentioned the accountants before. Like, March and April are great opportunities to be able to share information about your expertise on your digital platforms, your social platforms, and across earned media, because people are looking for information about their taxes. When you're stepping into, you brought up Dell's earlier, and the ice cream stand over by the pedestrian bridge, we're getting into those warmer months. That becomes a ripe opportunity for some of those small businesses to be able to engage with their local publications and their audiences that are on social media, to give them a preview of what their engagements over the summer are going to be. And one of the things that we really, and that I'll be encouraging folks in the session next week to really be able to get comfortable with, is looking for those opportunities as small business owners to lean into public conversations and get comfortable, saying yes to the interview, or putting out a perspective that's new or unique or provocative about the conversations that are happening, instead of just pumping out promotional content or images that have your logo and your business hours on it. Like, really get in there and force or start or engage in a conversation that's happening by asking questions, by giving people the opportunity to engage or share the content that you're putting out.
That's such a different mindset than a lot of people have. I know for sure that just from a casual scroll through anything, whether it's Instagram or TikTok, LinkedIn, you name it, you can differentiate yourself with effort. And it's pretty obvious when someone has put marketing on a grassroots level, or thought leadership, or even just fun, because fun is a big part of marketing as well, when it's put into a secondary category. And you're missing out on seizing the moment in the digital age if you do that.
Bartholomew Town.
Birds are disappearing from our landscape at a rapid pace. Over 1/3 of those breeding on Audubon Society of Rhode Island's wildlife refuges are in decline. Climate change has taken a toll on their migration, nesting, and food sources. While science is highlighting the problem, Audubon is working on real solutions with a plan to rapidly reduce their carbon emissions. The organization will be free of fossil fuels by 2030, with renewable energy powering Audubon's buildings, equipment, and vehicles. To shape our future, all of us must act. Learn more about repowering Audubon, their avian research, and how you can join their fight for climate resiliency. Visit asri.org/repower. Newport Film screens the latest, critically acclaimed documentary films year-round across Rhode Island. Like a film festival, Newport Film often gets early access to films before they're available online or in the theaters. Stay up to date on their latest screening events at newportfilm.com or on Instagram @NewportFilm. Are you looking to advance in your career or explore a new field? The University of Rhode Island now offers a comprehensive portfolio of fully online programs designed to bring world-class education to you anytime, anywhere. Choose from a wide range of flexible, asynchronous programs in business and leadership, data, tech and STEM, healthcare and pharmacy, marine and environmental science, and more. With expert faculty and innovative courses, you'll gain the skills and knowledge to thrive in today's competitive world. Are you ready to take the next step? Visit uri.edu/online and discover how URI Online can help you achieve your goals. URI Online, learn anywhere with us. Half Street Group brings a new generation's perspective to leadership communication, strategic public relations, and digital marketing. Half Street helps organizations and leaders take control of their own stories and manage their reputations. They get results for their clients by focusing on audience message and culture and by leveraging their decade-long relationship with media and opinion leaders in the Ocean State and throughout New England. Join me and Half Street Group founder and president Mike Raia for a conversation every month about news of the day, the hottest media analysis, and a look behind the scenes at how impactful leaders drive conversations. Learn more at halfstreetgroup.com. As Rhode Island's first ever member-owned credit union, Navigant Credit Union has been a staple in the local business community for more than 108 years. Today, Navigant is a $3.4 billion institution serving more than 136,000 members across 25 physical branch locations. But since its founding in 1915, the mission has never changed. Navigant Credit Union's team of financial professionals have remained committed to improving the financial well-being of the families, businesses, and communities they serve across Rhode Island. Learn more at navigantcu.org.
Right, 100%. And the other thing, too, to give some consideration to in there is it's not just like I love the idea of fun, and I love the idea of being able to make your social media platform something that is a more compelling opportunity for customers to engage with. But one of the other things, and this is what we work on and where we really specialize, is having that focus on what do you do with earned media, or how do you be able to, or how are you able to insert your business, your expertise, your industry into the dead tree type media or the local television or radio publications. And one of the things that I've told my colleagues from the 10,000 Small Businesses program is that there are so many conversations or so many stories that editorial decision makers want to be able to tell, but they don't know enough about. So they are reaching out to, or they're looking for people to reach out to them to be able to share stories of small business growth or new office openings. And I think that there is, anytime a small business is either kind of entering a new part of their sales cycle over the course of the year, or they're introducing a new product, thinking about those opportunities to be able to engage and send a press release or reach out and send a pitch to a reporter or an editor, and just inviting that conversation. It might result in a news story. It might not. Oftentimes it doesn't, but that doesn't mean it's a loss, because that means that you've started a conversation or you introduced yourself to editorial decision makers and you put yourself on their radar for when a conversation comes around to the thing that you might be an expert in, that they say, I want to call that person because I need that perspective of a local accountant, or I want to talk, we're talking right now about the rising price of eggs. I'm tired of just only reading about how that's impacting IHOP. I want to go talk to the owner of a local Main Street diner in the East Bay because that's the area that I cover. And I want to understand how it's just impacting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, becoming positioned to be the go-to or a go-to voice on any number of subjects that are directly related to your work. That's the goal. So coming up, oh, please.
Well, Bill, another thing to give some consideration to in here, and we'll talk about this in the panel as well. Like, I think something that often gets overlooked with small businesses is so in Rhode Island, the 4 out of 5 businesses don't have any employers or employees. It's just the owner. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% of the businesses in the state, maybe it's even more than that, I don't have the exact numbers, are small businesses. More than half of the people employed in Rhode Island are employed by small businesses. And these are the businesses that are they're keeping dollars in their community. And I've seen studies that show something in the neighborhood of 70 cents of every dollar of revenue that a small business is able to generate stays right there in the community, compared to a big box, which only keeps about 30 or 40 cents out of every dollar near that community. Which is why when you look at the kind of opportunities to be able to engage with communities or the places that are putting dollars back into community programs, it is the small businesses. And when you look at, and I'm on the board of Barrington Little League, and we've got 45 teams this year. They're all sponsored by a small business. We don't have any major employer type corporations that are putting their names on players' jerseys. It's the local dentist. It's Roots Barber Shop. It's Moving Dough Pizza Company. It's Anderson Motors. It's these companies that have been around in the community. And it's something that often gets overlooked. Those things do matter. And I do think that more and more small businesses, particularly the community-minded or like hyper-local small businesses that are doing business with Rhode Islanders in Rhode Island, really do have that opportunity through those kind of community partnerships to be able to tell more of their story or inspire conversations. What we're seeing, and this is actually going to be a couple of the slides in the panel, is we've seen some of these small businesses that are sponsoring our Little League teams making content with Little Leaguers that then get shared by the parents, which exposes them to a whole new group. So like Roots Barbershop's a great example of this. They haven't necessarily done a ton of it onto their Instagram, but like they're giving haircuts to almost every Little Leaguer that we're coming across. And these kids want like the baseball mullet or the Bryce Harper flow. And these guys, you walk in, my 8-year-old's done it, says, I want the baseball flow. And they're like, we got you, brother. We know what you need. And it's not lost on these families that their company name is on the back of their kid's jersey. So like that's a huge part of that small business PR, that small business marketing. And it gives business owners something that they're able to talk to local business president.
Yeah, a rare example of playing for the name on the back of the jersey instead of the front of the jersey or something like that.
Exactly.
I don't know. Okay, so
exactly.
I want to talk more Little League in just a second, but let's talk about Skills RI. And this is National Small Business Week coming up next week. So this is Tuesday, May 6th at the Crowne Plaza. You've been there for a prom. You've probably been to that buffet. It's a fine establishment, the Crowne Plaza. We'll leave it at that. But this is a full day that is intended to connect people around the idea of innovation and small business empowerment, and you'll be there. So let's get that kind of just promotional vessel, if you will, for what exactly it is that you're doing. You brought it up. Let's get details.
Yeah, so Skills for Rhode Island Future and the SBA are partnering to put a bunch of programming together over the course of the week. The real central component of it is this small business summit at the Crowne Plaza. There are going to be breakout sessions. I'm leading one on small business communications and PR. There's others on banking and financing, how to be able to engage with and work with your municipal governments. There's sessions on succession planning and exit strategies, along with some other great more plenary style chats and talks that will be there. credit to Nina Panday and her team at Skills for putting together such a great thing. I believe they've made additional seats available to it. The initial tranche of seats sold out, or it's a free event, but were gobbled up pretty quickly. So I think that they're adding several dozen more to be able to allow more and more small businesses to be a part of it. Personally, like I said kind of at the beginning, as a small business owner, I'm really looking forward to being able to jump in and learn from other small business owners and attend some of the sessions myself. So if you're looking for it, Skills for Rhode Island Future has all of the information. You can find it on their website, and you can get yourself registered and be there. And I'm hopeful to meet some folks. Half Street's going to have a table there, so stop by, say hello to me and my team. And if we get the opportunity to be able to start a conversation, we'll start a conversation.
Love it. You're on the board of Barrington Little League. You just mentioned that. And we now enter into a realm that is pretty spectacular, which is the communication strategies that you've learned from and deployed in Little League. We've already heard about the business element of this. What else can you tell us about this novel topic?
So I've been coaching in Little League since my son was in T-ball. I think at this point I've probably coached 8 teams, 9 teams. And I tried to do the number the other night. I think I've had like 115 or 120 different kids come through any of the different teams that I do. It is amazing. Like I love it. It puts me back on a baseball field. Like I just think like from just a pure, like being able to be a kid again, it's the best. And I've learned a ton in doing it. So I think like there's a couple of different things. Like my kids have been parts of teams before where there's really well-intentioned coaches who do a great job, whether it's on the field or on the ice with the kids on it. But a lot of times parents feel like, as a parent, like I felt in the dark. I didn't know what they were working on. I didn't know what I could do to be able to support my kid in between practices. And when I started coaching, I said, number one, it's like, I own a PR firm or I work in PR. Like I need to make sure that I'm the most communicative coach with the parents that you can find. So one of the things that I've learned in that, and we actually bring this into some of the work that we do with Half Street, is I make sure that I send my parents kind of a recap of every practice that we've done that kind of drills through what did we work on? What are some things that you can do with your kids in between the next practice? And what are we going to do at the next practice? That same kind of like interaction memo is very similar to what our team does for clients after we do our regular check-in meetings or after we do our planning meetings. And it's there to be able to maintain that buy-in. Like from the parent side, like on the team, it's as important. If we're going to, and winning games when you're coaching rec league, like any coach that sets out to try to win a rec championship needs to reevaluate their priorities. But kids like winning, and they're going to win when they're having fun. They're going to win when their parents are engaged with it and when they feel accountable to the rest of their team. And I bring the parents into that by making sure that they've got kind of that sense of, here's what our responsibilities are as coaches. Here's what your kids' responsibilities are as the players, and here's what we expect your responsibilities as parents are. When we bring it over to the client side, like we send something after and we say, like, this is what Half Street will get done. For Half Street to get that done, this is what we need from client X on this timeline. And then this is what we're going to work on together on the next phase. And always it's looking toward, because just like with our AAA baseball players, that each practice builds on the next one. In our PR strategy, we're not going to sign with a new client and immediately get the front page of every newspaper or the A block of everything. It's a big part of what we need to work on. We tell our clients all the time, this is a long game. We want to be able to introduce you. We want to build your credibility. We want to be able to make the right connections with reporters so they come to you. So we try to go in that direction with them. And it's the same thing. Like I've got a couple of kids on my team this year who've never played baseball before. I can't extend, and one of them was actually very funny. The other was like, "Can I coach pitch, or can I pitch coach?" And I said, "We'll get there. We'll work on that." And it's the same thing. I've had a client say to me before in the first meeting, who's never done any PR before, it's like, "When am I going to be in the New York Times?" It's like, we're going to build toward that. Like, let's do the fundamentals first. So those are some of the big things. And it's like and I get really energized this time of the year because like I see these things where I make a breakthrough with parents who really kind of just might want to drop their kid off, get an hour off to be able to, or 2 hours off to be able to run some errands, and then pick the kid up. And by the third week of the season, they're asking for, can you send me back with drills, or can you give me something that I can work on with my kid? Like, it's the same thing with our clients. When they're asking us, how can we do something to get ourselves better? Or should we start doing some training on something? Like, that's where I get really excited about it.
That's so interesting. And I love the thought of Little League as well, because you have such a diversity of interest in terms of how much somebody wants to put in, which you can grow and then translate across other fields, even if somebody is not necessarily intending to even play baseball in middle school, never mind pursue it as a lifetime journey. There's a lot of analogies that can be developed, and there's a lot of best practices that can come out of this. And I would encourage other people to look at aspects of their lives to discover, hey, what's worked in any other element? Maybe it's your family or how you manage your friends, or if you're an artist or an athlete, all of those arenas, they're the places where sometimes these best practices are naturally developed and deployed.
Technical difficulties.
We had an amazing moment here where Mike's AirPods died. And we're back.
I've been working the phone so much recently, I guess, or either that or I just forgot to charge them all weekend.
Yeah, it could be one of those two things. I mean, hey, it is what it is. Adaptation. And here we are adapting on the fly. Look, I think that those best practices and those ways that you organically find follow-up strategies or expansion strategies, they can come from places that aren't necessarily your business or your workplace. And that's sort of the message that you're sending here today. I think it's so true.
Exactly. So one of the things, and I'm glad you brought it up from that perspective. Like, when we work with clients, like, I try to find those things that they're passionate about outside the work. And actually, like, the career advice I always give undergraduates who are like, I want to find a job I'm passionate about. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you want to find a job you're interested in. Like, let your passions be your passions, and let your work be something that you're interested in. But when I'm doing media coaching or working with a principal, like, I had someone I was working with a couple of years ago who, as a kid, was a classically trained pianist. Like, they were, and they still did it as a hobby. And what we ended up doing is we put essentially a lot of the sheet music and a lot of musical notation right on top of their speech rep, because it was something that they understood. It was something that they were able to bring into it. And I look for those, and I encourage any of my clients when we're working with them, look for those things that you're interested in or that give the rest of your like value, and try to find things that you can then connect into, whether it's your like tactical delivery of your message or ways that you're able to connect and make authentic the message that you're trying to bring there. And for me, and I say this without hyperbole, like Little League and coaching and the board work I do becomes a second full-time job for me for 5 to 6 months out of the year. And I love it. Like, I probably put more time into it than I necessarily should. But the lessons and the grounding that I get from it is something that I'm able to bring into my work on an ongoing basis. It is something that allows me the opportunity for my clients or for my colleagues in the media to be able to see the things that they don't necessarily get to see about me when I'm just talking to them about press releases, or if I'm just doing and pardon the baseball pun, the traditional pitching and catching PR message shaping. So I encourage anyone, like, look for those things. Like, if it's music, there's ways to be able to bring that in. If it's acting, there's ways to be able to bring that in. If it's the patience of fishing, there's ways to be able to bring that in. But for me, I've learned a ton of lessons about it. And it does make me a better communicator, because being able to break through on the Little League side with 8, 9, and 10-year-olds and kind of get them to be able to focus on something, or be able to get parents who are overworked, overscheduled to understand and know what my goals are, my assistant coach's goals are, and what we're trying to do with the kids. If I'm able to do that, I know that I can take some of that same kind of repetition, that same kind of beginning, middle, end of a communication, and put that into play for the other kind of community and social impact and team building organizations that we work with.
Makes so much sense. And hey, I love it. I would say, looking at it from my standpoint, I think some of the best communicators and some of the best project managers that I know come from that art space where you have high pressure situation, high stakes, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of different variables that you have to have multiple contingencies for. And I've made the argument before when some parents have asked me like, hey, my kid's interested in music and, I want them to be a lawyer. I give the same advice that was given to me when I was 21 from the law firm partners that I was working for as a paralegal. When I asked that very same question, they say, hey, look, if nothing else, you're going to learn skills and best practices and about yourself in a way by getting into that art space or that athletic space or any other sort of passion project. Naturally, you're going to figure out how to solve problems. And when you learn how to solve problems in a space that you care deeply about, it's a lot easier to solve those problems when it's something that you're merely interested in.
Right. There's a ton of this. And actually, like, even look in local politics here. There's a reason that Dan McKee refers to himself as Rhode Island's coach and is trying to build this idea of Team Rhode Island. I mean, whether it's working or not is a whole different kind of conversation to be able to have, but it's a point of authentic connection. For Governor Raimondo, she did it kind of twofold. She did it in talking about her father's kind of blue collar and factory career, which was a very similar story that a lot of other Rhode Islanders had. And she talked a lot about the kind of concept of the decision making that she needed to make as a mom and how that was able to influence the kind of executive that she was. So those opportunities where you're able to bring your outside perspective into the things that you're projecting or that you're communicating, whether you're doing it through an earned media and kind of external communications capacity, or you're doing it just simply as an executive or a leadership communicator to your team or your colleagues, those outside experiences, that outside, those outside skills become such an important component of who we are as people, who we are as leaders, and who we are as teammates and colleagues.
Couldn't agree more. Hey, Mike, go charge your AirPods before life ends as we know it here. I know that feeling.
I'll make sure that I've got a full battery next time, and that we don't have to go through any of that stuff. But I always love talking with you, so I end up doing too much.
No, it's the way to do it. Maybe that's a future conversation. Communications in the era of battery life. I even got the AirPod Max Pro, whatever, over here, and they die all the time. I'm on a phone call. I'm like, what's going on here? They charged overnight. Now, 15 minutes later, what's happening here?
Credit to Apple, though. I will say this: like, I typically get almost half a week on a full charge. So this one's on me. This isn't on the Steve Jobs technology or the Apple blueprint. This one's on me.
All right. They'll be glad to hear that when they hear this on Apple Podcasts. Mike Raia, exactly. Half Street Group, founder and president, halfstreetgroup.com. And go ahead and check out that event, that Skills RI event at the Crown Plaza. That's on May 6th. And that panel that Mike's leading, that's high level stuff. You'll get an opportunity just like you do here on Inside Communications every single month on Bartholomew Town. Whether you're listening on the podcast or on the radio, we've been getting great feedback about this segment. So thanks a lot, Mike.
Thanks for having me, Bill. I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for stopping by Bartholomew Town. For more content, follow me on Instagram at Bill Bartholomew.